Seth's secret alliance exposed. The hidden deal behind Seth. Is Seth Rollins being controlled? WWE's hidden partnership revealed. Seth Rollins' mystery uncovered. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Why does it feel like every time Seth Rollins smiles on camera, something somewhere is already in motion that nobody is supposed to notice? And what if the biggest betrayal in WWE right now isn't coming from an enemy, but from someone standing right next to him the whole time? You know, there's something funny about Seth Rollins that people don't really talk about enough. Not the suits, not the laugh, not even the way he can switch from calm to chaos in about half a second. It's the fact that every time he says he's building something, it feels like he's also tearing something else down behind the curtain. And lately, it's been feeling less like coincidence and more like intention. Because if you've been paying attention, really paying attention, you start to notice little things. Tiny cracks in the story. Moments that don't fully add up. Promises that sound clean on the surface but feel layered underneath. Like there's another conversation happening that we're not invited to hear. And that's where this whole thing starts to get uncomfortable. Not loud uncomfortable. Not chair throwing, oh my god what just happened uncomfortable. More like that quiet kind of uncomfortable where you rewind a segment twice and still go. Wait, why did he say it like that? Now imagine this. Seth Rollins doesn't just wake up one day and decide to play mind games with the roster. That would be too simple. Too clean. WWE stories are rarely clean. There's always something underneath the surface, some alliance, some agreement, some handshake that never gets shown on camera but changes everything anyway. And recently, that's exactly what people have started whispering about. A partnership. Not the kind you announce. Not the kind you celebrate. The kind that operates in silence. The kind that doesn't need approval because it's already been agreed upon somewhere far away from the spotlight. And the wild part? It actually starts making sense when you look at Seth's recent behavior. Think about it. He's been calmer in some situations where he should have exploded. More selective in who he targets. More strategic than emotional. And that's not the Seth Rollins that used to burn things down just because he felt like it. So the question becomes, what changed? And more importantly, who changed him? Now before you jump into the comments like, nah, he's just evolving his character, hold on a second. Because evolution doesn't usually come with this level of precision. This feels planned. Like someone sat down and said, here's the direction. Stick to it. No improvising. And Seth Rollins, he's not exactly the type of guy you fully control unless he agrees to it. That's where things start getting interesting. Because there's been this subtle pattern forming. You might have missed it if you were just casually watching, but if you've been following week to week, you can't unsee it. Certain matches where interference just, conveniently works in his favor. Certain moments where his opponents are already half distracted before the bell even rings. And certain post-match interactions that don't feel like rivalries forming, but more like deals being enforced. You ever notice how sometimes in WWE, a storyline doesn't feel like two enemies clashing, but like two people fulfilling terms of something already decided? Yeah. That. And the strangest part is who keeps benefiting around him. Because it's not just Seth winning. It's the ripple effect. Other names start shifting positions. Momentum changes hands in ways that don't feel random anymore. Even the roster itself starts to feel like it's reacting to something we haven't been shown yet. And that brings us back to the so-called secret partnership. Now nobody has confirmed anything officially. Of course not. That would ruin the fun. WWE doesn't exactly send press releases saying, hey, by the way, two characters are secretly working together in ways we don't want you to notice yet. But fans? Fans notice patterns. And the pattern here is simple. Seth Rollins is not operating alone. And whoever he's aligned with, they're not on screen as much as you'd expect. Which immediately makes you think, is this someone backstage influencing direction? Or is this an on-screen alliance that just hasn't been fully revealed yet? Either way, something is off. And before you say this is just storytelling, yeah, obviously it is. But storytelling has layers. And the best wrestling stories always make you question what's part of the script and what's being hinted at. Because here's the thing about Seth Rollins, he doesn't just play roles. He builds ecosystems around himself. And lately, it feels like he's been building something bigger than just a feud or a championship chase. It feels like he's building protection. Think about that word for a second. Protection. Not dominance. Not revenge. Protection. That's a different mindset entirely. And once you start thinking in those terms, everything shifts. Why is he avoiding certain confrontations? Why are certain names not crossing paths with him when logically they should? Why does it feel like every time someone tries to fully expose him, the situation somehow resets before it reaches that breaking point? It's like watching a story where someone keeps pulling the emergency brake right before the crash. And the craziest part? The audience is starting to feel it too. You know that moment when fans in the arena start reacting not just to what's happening, but to what might be happening? That hesitation before a big move lands. That murmur when a surprise doesn't fully land the way it used to. That shift in energy where people go, something's coming. I just don't know what. That's what this feels like. And if you're watching at home, you probably had that same moment where you paused and thought, wait, are they setting something up that I'm missing? If you've had that thought, drop a comment right now. I'm genuinely curious how many people are seeing the same thing. Because here's where it gets even more layered. Every time Seth Rollins is in a high-pressure situation lately, there's this invisible safety net effect. Like no matter how bad things look for him, he always finds a way out that doesn't feel fully earned, but also doesn't feel like luck either. It feels arranged. And that's where the secret partnership rumor keeps growing. Because fans are connecting dots that WWE hasn't officially connected yet. And when fans start doing that, things get dangerous for storytelling. Not in a bad way. In a fascinating way. Because suddenly, the audience becomes part detective, part conspiracy theorist, and part chaos agent. And let's be honest, wrestling fans love chaos. Now imagine this scenario. What if Seth Rollins isn't just working with someone for power, but for control? Control over match flow. Control over rivalries. Control over who rises and who gets quietly stalled. That's a scary level of influence for one character to have. But it also fits the kind of long-term storytelling WWE loves when they decide to slow burn something across months. And if this does turn out to be real, if this partnership is eventually revealed, it won't just be a gotcha moment. It'll reframe everything we've already seen. Every win. Every loss. Every strange interruption. Every unexpected alliance shift. Suddenly, it all snaps into place like a puzzle we didn't realize we were already solving. And Seth Rollins, he becomes less of a lone architect and more of a spokesperson for something bigger. Which raises another uncomfortable question. If he's not the top of this chain, who is? Now I'm not going to pretend we have that answer. Because right now, nobody does. That's the whole point. This is all built on patterns, reactions, and that weird feeling wrestling gives you when something